What's up, guys? Happy holidays. I hope your December is going well. Mine certainly is. I've got 2 Christmas parties to go to this weekend, so I'm pretty stoked about that. I love this time of year. I don't know about you guys, but no matter what reason you celebrate it, it's just the spirit is makes it all worth it. Makes it awesome. So, yeah, I hope you guys are having a great holiday time. I've been taking a little bit of a break for the month of December, if you haven't noticed. But that's because I've got a lot in the works, and I'm trying to stockpile some episodes and start off 2018 with a bang. I've got a lot of new ideas and a lot of different directions that I want to go with this. So I'm really excited about that. This episode is going to be a highlight of all of the insane and awesome conversations that I've had over the past year. Since it's been about a year since I started the podcast, I think 2017 was kind of the bulk of it. So, yeah, I've just been looking back on the year, and making this episode has just made me realize how thankful I am to be able to have so many awesome connections and conversations with so many cool and interesting people. It's truly amazing. And, yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing that and, continuing this relationship with you guys, and I thank you guys so much for making this year awesome. I couldn't be more thankful for you guys. I couldn't ask for anything more for this holiday season than the support that I'm already getting from you guys. So it really does mean the world. So that being said, I hope you guys enjoy this episode of a look at the year 2017 of the Better Ideas podcast.
Okay, so the end of 2014, we go on this national tour, National Bayan. We're on top of the world, playing to like 150, 200 people a night. There were a couple bad nights,
Which is really good for a punk band, by the way.
Yeah, and a small band, a very small band. We were we were way too small to be on.
From
that.
Lawrence, Kansas.
We had people ask us all the time on that tour, like, "How'd you guys get on this?" And we were like, "Oh, but and so we do that. And that was amazing. We're on top of the world. We have all this momentum. We just feel great. Everything feels awesome. Beginning of 2015, Dustin bows out. Dustin's like, it was all mutual. He got with us, and he was having some weird stuff going on in his life, and he was like, I got to get all this stuff handled, and I don't want to slow you guys down. So
that's
Dustin,
cool,
Dustin leaves. We replaced Dustin almost instantly with a guy named Reed, who was a good friend of ours in a different band. And Dustin literally texted Reed and was like, "Yo, I'm quitting. You should join." And Reed was like, "Yeah."
And Reed shreds.
Yeah,
too.
Reed was an amazing drummer. And so that was a minor detail. It was Dustin was gone, Reed was in, we were good to go. No big deal. No, didn't miss a step. Took us a while to start playing some shows in 2015, which was frustrating. But we were going to be recording an acoustic EP. We were going to be doing all this stuff. And then we play this huge show opening up for Beartooth, this sold out show.
Oh, that was during their basement tour too, wasn't it?
Yeah, we were. This one was in a bowling alley. It was in a bowling alley. The cap of the room was like 305, and there was like 350 in it, stuffed in it. Like, it was just packed.
That's
and it was
amazing.
No stage. It was gnarly. But so we play that show. That's our first show of the year. A week later, we go on that tour that you go on. Mm-hmm. And second to last day of that tour, Alex is like, "I'm done," and we're like, "Well, that sucks." But he wanted to do other stuff with his life, and he didn't really want to play bass. And we were like, "Okay, that really sucks, but all good." Literally, Alex quit. I got on the phone because we had more shows booked after Alex, like a couple weeks after that, and we were like, "Well, we got to play these. Let's find a bass player." Alex quit, and I called Zach, who you had on your podcast. And I was like, "Hey, Zach, can you play bass for us for a few shows?" Checks his calendar. I tell him all the dates. He goes, "Yeah, absolutely." Boom. We have Zach as a fill-in. We can handle this later. Mm-hmm. Then we play a few shows, play some rad shows. We played like a college show, played in Omaha, first time playing in Omaha, which is like our second home now. Mm-hmm. And then...
Wait, that was your first time playing in Omaha?
The one with Zach, yeah. It was crazy.
That's weird. I would have thought you guys would have played there a long time ago.
Yeah, we played Lincoln and we played Nebraska, but we'd never played Omaha.
Oh, okay.
So then, during this. We had like 8 or 9 shows over the course of like a month and a half. No like tours. They were just a lot of one-offs. They were a lot of really cool one-offs. And so we were doing those, and Zach was filling in for him. Before we're done with those shows, John texts everybody. He's like, "Hey, we need to have a meeting. Like we need to all get together and talk about some stuff." And just the way he was wording it, Bobby and I texted each other, and we were like, "John's quitting. John's quitting." And sure enough, John did quit. His life was going in other directions. Him and his wife were moving to Kansas City, and just he's doing great now. So, but that was a huge blow because at that point, John was doing more than I was doing as far as like managing the band and booking and things like that. John was at that point in the band. John was the backbone. I was the quote unquote face, and I did all that stuff. I did like social media and stuff, but the behind the scenes stuff, John was the backbone. And so we were like, whoa, it was just all of a sudden, it was Reed, Bobby, and I. And
so would you say that he kind of was more of a manager? He
was,
the head?
He was, I mean, we all did some of that, and I did some, but yeah, John did all, like, the booking and all, like, he handled a lot of stuff that nobody wants to handle.
He's a good facilitator.
Yeah, he did that. And so, he quit, and we were like, wow, what the hell are we going to do? And then we decided to go. We were like, let's go record a single. I had a song ready to go, and I was like, let's get in studio and record. I call up Kevin, our producer, and I was like, when's the soonest you can get us in? He's like, I can get you in. It was in like 2.5 weeks, and I was like, yes, let's get in, record a single, get music out so people know we're not dead because this is like this is what's gonna happen. And that whole plan didn't quite go how we wanted it to go.
Yeah.
We recorded What I'm Missing. We never actually released it as a standalone single because then, luckily, through those one-offs, we made a ton of money. Literally a ton for a tiny band, for a big band. I mean, but we made,
which means a couple $100.
More than that. We were walking home with like $1,000 at like more than one of them.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
we played
amazing.
We played a show at Southwestern College, and the department, activities department, bought everybody that wanted a shirt. So literally, we gave all these people shirts, kept a tally, and then they just wrote us a check for all the shirts. We gave them a deal on them. You know what I mean? Like since
wholesale.
Since they were buying that many, we gave them a deal on them for sure. But and
that's
so
cool.
So we had a lot of money, not a lot. We had a decent amount of money, and we were like, okay, let's record an EP.
So
let's record a whole EP.
So at this point, your band has more money than you've ever had.
No members,
but no members, and booked shows. Right?
I remember one time because John played through. We knew John was quitting, and he finished out all the shows we had booked. He was awesome and was like, I will play everything, and he did. And I remember him and I were talking after one of them, and he was like, man, like right as I quit, we start making money. I was like, because we were so broke for so long. And then it's okay, we're still so broke. But John, if you're listening, we're still broke.
He's not. He works too much. John, quit your job. Finish our EP. Just kidding, love you.
But and so then we record the rest. We write and record the rest of War. I wrote it mostly by myself, which I didn't love doing. It was just kind of what happened, and I had so much to get off my chest. I wrote War myself, and then we went and recorded that, got it done. Getting everything ready to put out this album, get a little tour booked to write it, to release the album and go on tour. We find a fill-in guitar player. We're going to track bass, and it'll be Reed, Bobby, and I fill-in guitar player. That's it. We were trying to find a bass too, but we couldn't find that. We had that all lined up. Our friend Jake from Wisconsin was going to come play guitar for us. He was playing guitar in a band in Wisconsin at that point, and we played shows with him in one of his old bands. He was going to come play guitar for us. We get that all lined up. We get that all figured out. Like 2 weeks before tour, 2.5 weeks before tour, Reed calls us, and he's like, I can't do it, guys. He decided he couldn't do it. We were like, so now we don't have a drummer. It is just Bobby and I. We're the only permanent members in this band. What is going on?
And this is 2 weeks before a tour?
2 weeks before this tour, yeah.
Wow.
We find a fill-in. He's stoked. We're like, okay, all's good. Fill-in calls me. Finds out fill-in can't do it. The fill-in guy can't do it. And I'm like, okay. But he's like, but I got a friend that should be able to call him up. We call up a guy by the name of Brandon Thomas, who goes by Bayan. Mm-hmm. This just insane rap producer from Kansas City. And he was like, yeah, I think I can do it. I don't think... Bam had no idea what he was getting.
And he's a drummer?
Yeah, he's a very good drummer.
Okay.
Very good drummer. I don't think Bam had any idea what he was getting into. And he filled in for a week of the tour. Then we had a few days off. We found a different fill-in for 3 other days.
Dang.
And then we had a hometown show, and neither of our fill-ins could do it. And Dustin Warden came back and played that show.
Yep, I was at that show.
Yep.
That was awesome.
So we literally had, over the course of like 9 shows, over the course of 3 weeks, we had 3 drummers.
It's amazing that you guys were able to actually play all of those shows, though.
Oh, yeah,
I'm sure it was stressful.
A couple of them were bad.
Yeah.
That first Omaha show, War's release day, we were in Omaha, day 1 of tour, and it was terrible. It was still to this day the worst show Sweet Since ever played. I mean, it was terrible. And then, so we got done with that tour, and we were like,
Take a break.
Take a breather. But then we were working with a publicist, and she was like, I need a music video. And we were like, okay, let's make a music video. We only have 2 members.
Okay, so this is when you signed management.
Not quite yet.
Oh, okay.
That's not quite yet.
It was a little soon after that?
Soon. I'm getting there.
I'm getting the timeline down a little bit.
We were like, well, Jake is actually a drummer, not a guitar player. Mm-hmm. He's not that great of a guitar player. He'll be the first person to tell you this. He basically knew how to play Sweet Ascent songs and the songs of his bands, and that was it. And
more of a rhythm
he's
guy.
He's a very good drummer.
Yes.
The only reason he was playing guitar in that other band was just because they didn't need a drummer, so he just wanted to be in a band, and in a new band. And so we were like, Jake was living in Madison, Wisconsin. I call him up. I was like, Jake, you want to come be in a music video? Yeah, sure, I can. You want to play drums in it? Yeah, sure, I can. Oh, yeah, we also need a placeholder for the other guitar. All right, I'll bring my friend Will. Jake and Will come down. Jake plays drums. And while Jake was in Lawrence for that music video, we were like, do you want to join this band? Do you want to be the drummer of this band? He was like, yes. So then we take the rest of 2015 off, those next couple months, plan out some tours, and hit 2016 super, super hard. Mm-hmm. But that is the dark ages of 2015. I didn't include a lot of, it was horrible. We had all this momentum, and it all went away, and it was brutal. You can see, you can look at pictures of Bobby and I in 2015, and we just don't look right. Even just not even band pictures, just any pictures. You can see what stress does to your body by looking at pictures of Bobby and I. I mean, we look like shit. I mean, we're just terrible.
Dude, I just being a bystander, I wasn't super involved in the whole situation, but just seeing all of that and catching the very beginning of the end, or the beginning of whatever that was, that dark age,
the beginning,
on the tour, and then not really talking to you guys, but just kind of seeing it from a distance and just seeing you guys basically go through hell, and then putting out War though.
Yeah. And
that's when I heard War, I was like, dude, this is raw. This is the most authentic thing I've ever, no offense, but I've never heard Jordan do something so
I'd never done
real.
Anything like it, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, and that's why it's my favorite thing you've done so far. But, yeah, man, I'm glad you guys made it through that, because it seemed like a rough time.
Sometimes there are some days I wish we would have just called it quits, but...
Has anyone ever told you that you look kind of like James Franco?
Yeah, well, when I worked at a Subway, I had my hair longer, and that was right when Pineapple Express came out.
Yep, that's exactly what I was
so for the next 2 weeks, that's all I got was, "Hey man, you look like that James Franco guy." I was like, "Yeah, I think I have a nicer smile, but that's because I don't smoke cigarettes." But
yeah, you look like a younger James, you could be in the Franco family.
Yeah, thanks.
Sure.
The 3 comparisons I get the most is James Franco. Charlie Huntman, he plays Jax from Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can
Marcus
see that.
is convinced I look like him. And then when I was growing up, everyone said I looked like Wesley from Princess Bride, the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Oh, okay. It's been a while since I've seen that one.
But yeah. And the album, Pure Heart, it's about dealing with depression and kind of coming out the other end with a sense of clarity. Mm-hmm. So that song Close immediately follows after the song Queen, which is kind of the low point of the album when your character hits rock bottom. And then Close is kind of that pick-me-up song where it's like, you know what? I can sit around all day and feel sorry for myself because of the experiences and loss that I've suffered in life, or I can grow from it and be stronger and see what I can learn from that, and also what I can help other people learn from that as well. So, that line, where I've wasted so much of my life being hateful, and blaming my loved ones and those around me, that stemmed from me when I was, battling my depression, when it all came to a head and got to kind of that low point of losing someone close to me. And that's what the song Queen is about. I was very suicidal. And, I wanted to, when you're resting in your ego and you're in those hard places, it's always easy to either be the judge or the victim. And, I was the judge for so long, judging everyone around me, saying, like they had no right to tell me what to do because they had these afflictions in their own lives. But then I would also turn around and play the victim as well and go, woe is me, poor me. Maybe if I had more understanding parents, or if I had more authentic friends, maybe I wouldn't be in this place. But then I realized, everyone in your life and your relationship with them is just a reflection of your relationship with yourself. And so that song was about me not only, forgiving the people around me for not knowing how to be there for me, but forgiving myself, for not having that knowledge either.
Yeah. And you said the word ego there.
Yeah.
And I like that idea, I guess, of like being able to step outside of your ego, I guess, and kind of look at yourself in the mirror objectively.
Yeah.
And recognize that like it's up to you to make that choice, like you said, to be either the victim or the victimizer or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Actually reminds me of I heard this Einstein quote the other day. I actually just wrote it on my little calendar out there in the living room. But he said the most important decision that you'll make in your life is whether you live in a friendly or hostile universe. And the fact that he said it's a decision kind of seems like it's correlative to what you're saying. Like, so I'm assuming there's some time when you had that turning point and you decided like to make that choice to no longer be the victim, but to be in control of your life.
Yeah.
So what did that?
Unfortunately for me, I was very stubborn, emotionally, for a long time. And so it took me really through love and loss. I would try to love, I was in a relationship where I was trying to love this person and they were trying to love me, and we were vicariously trying to love ourselves through each other. But, one of the oldest sayings in the book that my parents, always fed me and I always kind of scoffed at, but realized how true it was, is you can't love anyone until you can love yourself. And it's because you're only going to be able to receive and accept the level of love from another person that you're willing and able to give yourself. And so I was tired of hating myself and wondering why I wasn't happy. And it was because I needed to stop living in my past. And that was the hardest thing for me. They say depression comes from living in your past and anxiety comes from living in the future. And I was riddled with both. And it was only until I learned how to integrate myself to living in the moment that I was able to find my peace. And it was from there that I was able to kind of pick myself up and build myself back up. So, that's really what it was losing someone really close to me. For me to hit rock bottom, think I want to kill myself, and then realize, I don't want to die. I want to live, but I want to live for something, and if I can't live for myself, then I'll live for music, and I'll live for, my friends and my family and those connections. And it was, through that experience of writing the EP that I learned how to love and accept myself. And that was the turning point.
It seems like that, to me, is no longer living in the past or the future, because you said you're not living for yourself, you're living for music, but you're dedicating yourself to something. So in turn, you kind of are living for yourself.
Yeah. And,
like
and that's what
doing something that causes you to be present.
And that's what I learned. And, and it was through the recording process of that album that I really opened my eyes to things like that. And it wasn't until we started playing the songs live that I realized, like, okay, I'm here for more.
So I was at that convention, and I talked to one of my dad's old contacts, and he's like, hey, you take photos, right? I'm like, yeah, why? And he's like, do you want to shoot the shows tonight? And I'm like, actually, that sounds pretty awesome. And, like, I think the Downtown Fiction was the headliner. And so I don't know if you've heard of them or not.
I don't.
They wrote like one really catchy song, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I actually know what band this is. This is going to be awesome." And so I shot it, and I absolutely fell in love. I'm like, "This is my thing. Like, I have to do this now." So I got home, and I'm
it was
like,
because it was a band that like you liked and recognized.
kind of, yeah. And I got to like take photos of them while they played and everything like that. And it was just the whole night and editing that night, and just like the whole process. I just fell in love. So I'm like, "This was super cool. I have to do this more." So I got home and I just started Googling, like, how the heck do I do this?
Yeah.
I have no idea what I'm doing. Help me. No one I knew anything about it, and I didn't have any music contacts anyway, so I was kind of out on my own. So I reached out because I just watched a whole bunch of YouTube videos and, like, followed a whole bunch of people on Instagram, and their advice was like, yeah, just start shooting at a local bar. I'm like, okay, there's one bar in Pittsburgh that has live music, and it's TJ Leland's, and it's like my favorite bar in town just because it's almost like a home to me.
Yeah.
So I messaged the people, and I was like, hey, I'd love to take photos here. And they're like, yeah, that's cool. We can't pay you, but we'll give you drinks every now and then. I'm like, done. Like, that's an awesome time. And so, I shot and worked with all these local artists in Pittsburgh and just kind of didn't really get an understanding of the music industry because not a lot of them toured or anything like that. They just played local shows, people came out. But I understood, like, lighting and working in low light and bars and all that stuff. So that was kind of cool getting to actually do all that. And then one day I got a like from that online magazine, and I just messaged them like, what do I got to lose? I'm like, hey, do you guys need a photographer? And they're like, well, we can't pay you, but we'll give you free concert tickets. I'm like, done. So, I mean, it was one of those things where I'm like, yeah, that'd be awesome. And so I shot, going back a little bit, I also did Warped Tour was my first, like, big boy gig.
Okay.
For a fashion magazine that I met a guy through some kind of photography seminar, and I was like, yeah, this is kind of what I want to do. He's like, well, we could try and set something up for you. So somehow I got in, and so I shot Warped Tour. So that was like my first big boy gig, which was kind of cool.
Okay, what year was that?
2 years ago, whatever that summer was.
I think I was also at Warped Tour that year.
Who was headlining? It was Paris was headlining.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So that was fun, and that was a lot more eye-opening to, like, what was going on. That was the first time I'd ever gotten, like, more access than just, like, being around with a camera.
Yeah. And so that was the first time you were around, like, touring bands also. Like big bands that are doing this for a living.
Well, and it was funny because since I was press, I didn't even get to go backstage or anything. I was just around. And I did a couple interviews. I actually almost got to interview what's her name? She works with G-Eazy. BB Rexa.
Dude,
And-
she is what song is it? That Me, Myself, and I.
Yeah.
Me and my girlfriend were hooked on that song.
So fun fact, I
chorus,
got an email the week before from her GM, and her GM was like, hey, would you like to do an interview with her? And I'm like, I don't know who this is. Like, I'm sorry, I got to politely decline. Like, this is my first year. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm sorry. And they're like, oh, no worries. And I turned down an interview with BB Rexa, and now I'm just like, stupid.
Yeah, now
like,
she's freaking huge.
and it's crazy how it works like that. And I'm just like, oh, if I had known, that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I did a couple cool interviews, like the drummer of Escape the Fate. Who else did I talk to? I don't know. Just a couple different random artists, which was cool. And none of it was really planned. It was like sign up the day of, so that was fun.
So you interviewed them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For a magazine.
For that online magazine, which was kind of cool. And so then from there, I just started like doing a lot more of those mainstream big show gigs, not getting paid, but getting free tickets and building up my portfolio until graduation day, where I was like, okay, I need to figure out how I'm going to do this, because I still was pretty jaded towards the music industry because I didn't know how touring worked or anything. I was just hoping a big band would just pick me up one day and be like, oh, his Instagram's cool, let's take him on tour.
Yeah.
Not how that works.
Yep.
I mean, that was really the beginning of the war on drugs as we know it. and every administration since then has used it to their own advantage in some way. And we have to get to a point where we actually decide, is cannabis good or is it bad? We can't have any of this middle ground stuff.
Yeah.
Because as soon as some bus driver gets into a terrible wreck and kills a bunch of people and has THC in his blood, they're going to blame it on the cannabis.
Unjustly.
Even though he might not even been high, it could have been from cannabis he smoked 3 days before or something.
Yeah.
And did you know, by the way, speaking of having cannabis in your blood and getting into car accidents, did you know that what stays in the blood for a while, especially if you use a lot of it, but Reuters published a finding on this in 2014 that 80% of head trauma victims with THC in their blood were 80% more likely to survive.
Wow.
Because THC is a neurogenerative and it helps create new brain cells. And cannabis also has neuroprotective properties, protects the brain cells. In fact, the United States government actually has a patent on using cannabis as an antioxidant and a neuroprotectant.
So they own the rights to use it for that, then, basically.
Right, which is very hypocritical.
Wow.
Because they've got it as a Schedule 1. And the DEA, I was listening to a woman who used to work for the DEA. She joined the DEA in the late 90s in Texas, and her superior, I don't remember the guy's name, but he told her straight up, first day, we know cannabis is safe, we know it's not a problem, but we will never give it up because it's our cash cow. The DEA makes a lot of money off, well, they want to, they're not making any money off of it right now, but and everybody thinks, well, we have to tell the DEA to leave cannabis alone. The reality is we have to change the law through Congress. There's actually a bill in Congress right now.
So, do you think that there are people? I don't want to be that conspiracy guy, but sometimes I guess in situations like this, like it's kind of hard not to see that maybe one of the main reasons that it is still illegal to this point is just because there are people whose best interests it would be to keep it illegal for profit or for control or what, you name it. So do you think that is basically the only reason that it's still illegal at this point, I guess, since it kind of was from the beginning?
Definitely. We've got a lot of vested interest in prohibition. The pharmaceutical companies alone would lose billions of dollars if everybody suddenly had access and education around cannabis. Because they lose money when we get better. Which is why they can have you on a pill like Nexium for 20 years, even though it actually makes the stomach issues worse.
So, would you say that, like, how would people accept cannabis? I mean, like, is the social stigma surrounding it like a matter of it being drilled into people's heads, or do you think it's like a decency thing? Because there's people that genuinely believe, like, mind-altering substances like that, or like it's dogma to like partake of. Like, will people accept it in like the Bible Belt? I mean, how do you convince states like that where it's not so difficult to convince people that it's bad? Because it seems like some people are more willing to, view it that way, depending on where you are, like, geographically.
You're basically talking about how do we tackle hardcore prohibitionist thinking, and I think it starts with understanding what people are afraid of and honoring those concerns and taking the time to engage with them and address those concerns and show them the recent findings, and hopefully you have to get people to that space, because they can get very excited about this issue. They see what's happening with the legalization unfolding, and they have ideas about cannabis they've had their entire life maybe, but they never really asked where this information came from. They maybe haven't seen any of the new information. And I talked to my grandfather about it the other day, and if I can talk to him about cannabis, I can talk to anybody about it. That was not easy.
Yeah.
He could not even articulate. He was so upset. And he had to get off the phone.
Why do you think that people... We were actually having a conversation the other day about cognitive dissonance and, like, this idea that people, like, believe something, but they don't really believe it because they don't really even know why they believe it. And it seems like there's a lot of people who, I guess, have been reinforced a lot of these ideas their whole life, like marijuana being a scary thing. Like, what are people afraid of to, I guess, let go of those ideas?
Is the irrational fear, like, learned, or is it just kind of like a communal, like, societal thing? I guess that kind of goes hand in hand, though, doesn't it?
I guess that would be the question of nurture versus nature, but it just seems like there are people, like, I know so many people who have that stigma in the back of their mind when you bring up cannabis, or
a bunch of drug
like,
users
people
and
who
potheads.
I wouldn't talk about cannabis with in my life, just because I know how they feel about it, but I don't know why they feel that way other than it's how they were raised,
I think it's a great question to be asking ourselves, and I think it's really sad when we have a subject like that that's taboo, and so we just don't talk about it. I think that with the people in my life, I want to be able to talk about any subject and be able to engage in a conversation about it without getting upset. And to do that with sensitive subjects, in this case cannabis, to have any good conversation, you have to have a good balance of candor and curiosity. And when people are really fixed on an idea, that curiosity oftentimes subsides, and you just have candor, and to where they want to express their view, but for some reason they can't really handle another perception.
I think it was a little rushed just because we had like really short set times, because you guys played second and like we almost got kicked off stage, so like I feel like the whole thing was a little hectic. But
I love and hate opening when the bigger air quotes touring bands come through, just because I mean, one, egos, and two, just like being, it's like, man, you guys wouldn't have crowds if it wasn't for these locals slinging tickets. Like, give us a 10-minute at least changeover.
Yeah. They straight up like tried to tell us not to play the last song, and we're like, we're gonna play the last song. Like, can we just play it really fast? So we literally tried to play it really fast, and it just, oh man, it was weird.
It's gonna,
that tour manager, that's who it was. The whoever was the tour manager, I think it was Icy Stars. He was just like not happy with the locals. Yeah. And we went a few minutes over on accident, I think, and he was just like, get him off. Like,
yeah, I remember that dude being not so great.
Yeah.
We've encountered a few kind of angry, or I guess I wouldn't say shitty, because I guess they're doing their job, but tour managers when opening for,
unfortunately, that kind of is their job, to kind of be the asshole that
they have to look out for the tour package. They don't give a shit about the locals.
It's not their job to care,
but they should care a little more when they're the ones that are packing the venue for them.
Yeah, I totally agree.
We are on a road that is not for trucks or buses, and these bridges are arced. The at the edges, the bridges are 7 feet tall.
Yeah, at the edge.
He is centering the bus and going under the highest point.
Barely.
And literally, okay, I'm not making this up. Alex and I are looking in the windows, and Alex is, at one point, we had one that was so low, Alex screams and dove onto the floor. He goes, "Whoa!" and jumps onto the floor while Bobby is in a top bunk.
In the top bunk, like 8 inches from the roof of this bus, and I like kind of halfway wake up. I hear everybody screaming like, "Oh!" And I didn't know everybody was on the floor because they're worried that we're about to scalp our rig.
And then our tour manager,
It's like the whole roof just like
tour manager, and then I kept thinking, I was like, there's no way, we've got to be able to clear these. It's okay. Tour manager is up front at the bandwagon, calls me and goes, "Did you guys hear anything?" No, why? Dude, we might have ripped off an AC unit. What? So we stop, we exit and we stop, and we hit one. We hit one, and it like pulled the casing off.
This far.
We taped it down, and we get back on. Find a way to get off. Get pulled over, and like this cop is just screaming at our bus driver.
So we're driving, and our brakes are crap, dude. Like you have to push down like almost all the way to the floor to get them to engage. And we're like, man, these things need replaced bad. And I get to this intersection, and we throw our van in park, so that's another issue to where it'll die sometimes. And so
Sometimes.
it's like stalling. And so I put it in park. For some reason, I decided to give the brakes another quick like little push, like test push. And it matted all the way to the ground. I'm like, what? And I put it in drive real quick with the brake all the way down, starts moving. I throw it back in park. I'm like, guys, the brakes are gone. Like, they just
And we're like, okay, yeah.
I'm like, no, seriously, this is with it matted. I put it back in drive, and we just start going. I slam it back in park, and we're waiting at this red light. Like, we got like 10 seconds to like make a game plan. Luckily, we were the first in line in the turn left lane. So the turn left light comes on. I'm like, all right, here we go. Throw it in drive. I get up to like 10, just babying it, looking for a spot to pull it over.
Make sure you don't die.
Yeah, make sure we don't die. And so I get it up to like 10. We take this corner, and then it's like a little bit of a downhill thing. We start going like 20, 30. Thankfully, there's like one car ahead of us, and it turns out of the way in time. And then we start going back uphill, and I turn right on this. Well, they were like telling me to turn right on this street. I'm like, there's no way we're flipping this thing if I turn down.
Our phrase is capsize.
Capsize. And so we keep going down this road, and it goes a little bit uphill. So I turn on the next road, and we're still have a little bit of momentum going. And I come around this like cul-de-sac. It's kind of a rounded street. And I just U-turn it in there, because now we're going like 7 or so miles per hour. Nowhere really to stop. And then I cut around the corner. I just came back, turned up into this strip mall, and old vans like that, they have that ghetto like foot parking brake thing.
Yeah.
Like as their e-brake, just slammed on that thing and just scraped to a stop.
Oh man.
Oh, it was so sketchy, dude. Like, and I couldn't stop thinking like, there's not a better time for that to happen. Think if we were just on the highway like we were coming up on like a pay toll and you have no brakes.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Throw the money.
Just throw the money in the
K-tag.
Right.
Yeah, dude, that's insane.
So it was so sketchy, dude. Like, brakes went out, and then luckily the next day, was the next day an off day?
Dude, no, you missed the best part where we scooted 4 miles.
Oh yeah, we scooted 4 miles to a hotel that night to have somewhere to stay because a
Like
tow
you
truck.
just pushed the van?
No,
we
left it.
we
towed the van.
literally got our van towed, and then the tow truck can only pull 2 of us. So 2 of us had to get on our Razor scooters and scoot like 2 miles to the hotel we were gonna meet at, and then
you had those scooters, though.
dude, thank God.
Bought mine day of.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
you bought yours that day.
Jake
bro.
got his money's worth. We all got our money's worth. And then me and Jordan got taken to the
Mechanic.
repair shop, where it got dropped off on the other side of town. So then we had to scoot
across the
the other way back, and we rendezvoused at this hotel.
Yeah, I had like my backpack on me, my pillow tucked in between my back and my backpack, scooting in the middle of the night. I'm like, what the hell is happening? And we get there, and thankfully the guys at the repair shop were all about it. They're like, oh, you're in a band and stuff? Like, you're trying to get to the gig? We got you. They're just working, cranking out work on this
That's
van.
like a mission.
It's like NASCAR pick.
We had we had some friends that were coming to pick us up, and we actually didn't end up needing it because like we like just about having to leave, and the mechanic came out. Was like, when do you guys gotta leave? Like, you got 10 minutes? We're like, yeah. And then all of a sudden we see our van just driving away. And he's like, as long as he gets it back, you're good to go. And we're like,
Dang, dude, that's
okay.
awesome though.
Yeah. So it was wild.
So last time you were in here, you hinted on the podcast about a huge announcement.
We didn't even say it.
Yeah, and then I think that might have been part of the technical difficulty.
Oh yeah.
And I don't even know if it was in the podcast, but I mentioned it in the intro. I was like,
"Oh yeah,
these
you
guys
did.
are gonna blow up. Like, I already know
You're a
it.
sweetheart.
Calling it." And yeah, you told me after we recorded, because I guess you forgot.
Oh yeah.
You're like, "Oh, I forgot to tell you. Like, we got signed to Solid State."
Yeah.
And like, that's just coming from like where I'm at, being in like just local bands and stuff like that, and always being around it. I've never had any friends that just get signed to a record label that has some of my favorite bands.
Yeah.
Like, we were just listening to Emery in my car on the way here, and like they were on Solid State for
It's
a while.
so weird.
And that's when I heard you guys' commercial a few days
On Bad
later
Christian.
while listening to. For those of you who know the band Emery, you may know the band Bad Christian podcast, or the podcast Bad Christian. They had an
So
Earth
good.
Groans commercial.
Oh my gosh, that was
And
weird.
I was at work cleaning a car, and I just like dropped my headphones.
And called me.
Yeah, and I called you.
You were
I
freaking out.
I was like, "Oh my god!" And like, I was with Randy. It was when Randy still worked with me. And
Yeah.
My boss is a good friend of mine. I was like, "You guys have to listen to this," and they like just put the headphones in their ears, and they were like, "Earth Groans, like, isn't that your guys? That's your buddy's band, right?" Like, they're famous now.
What's weird about that is like I had never listened to a podcast before that, and like obviously Solid State told us that they were giving an ad, or putting us on an ad on Bad Christian. So of course I'm gonna listen to it, just hear what they're gonna say, and so that was my first time even listening to the Bad Christian podcast. And what was sweet is during that specific episode they were interviewing Matt and Robbie from the Classic Crime.
Yeah. Wasn't that the one when they were like on their bus or
Yeah,
something?
they were on
their
tour.
They were on tour. At
And
the time.
they're actually my second favorite band of all time. So like it was so cool hearing like some of my heroes talk, and then like my band playing in an ad, like knowing those guys are listening to my band. I was like,
so crazy,
holy crap, they probably think we suck. Like, I bet they were like making fun of us.
I don't know,
Matt.
Matt Carter talked you guys up a little bit. I know that's their like cheesy segue to their ads that they have to do, but I don't know, like. They're huge fan. All those guys are like huge fans of just like Tooth and Nail and Solid State and all that.
It's very intertwined.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I'm just stoked that I know about your podcast like in the very beginning, so that I can follow it and see the growth. Because I feel like a lot of people like, I don't know, like I'm trying to think. For instance, like some of my like friends or family. I have an amazing family, but like. Sometimes it's hard for like family to bite onto your passion early on because they don't see the results like you do. You have the vision. I have the vision, So like a lot of people won't bite onto your vision until there's like reward from it. Like there's a following already. So I'm trying to bite onto your vision now while there's small following because I want to see it grow and then be there and be like, yes, I was there from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah,
I love
We're just
that.
gonna sit here and stroke each other's egos for like 30 minutes.
Let's talk about how great we are, and then look at our bank accounts.
Now I'm gonna return the compliment to you, but no, seriously though, ditto with that. Like I see the same thing with your vlog. Like you're starting something new, which is cool because you're in the same boat as me, where music was kind of the first thing that got you into this whole idea of being sort of a creative entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And it seems like your vlog's done this kind of the same thing, where you start and it gets like 20 or 30 or whatever, however many views, and then every time it just keeps growing and growing,
exactly.
and more people care. I've never stopped praying or anything like that.
Yeah.
But my beliefs in what I cling to has drastically changed as far as like fundamental beliefs go.
Yep.
And so I don't know. And I think a lot of Christians do this, and I even really think that this is part of the message that Jesus teached, is that idea of becoming dead to the flesh and dead to sin, dead to the ego, dead, I think that that's kind of what this is.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that it's a very traditional Christian thought to
I don't think so
say
either.
that killing your beliefs for me has been what allowed me to kind of scratch myself all the way down to the ground level
Yeah.
and that rock, you know,
Yeah.
and then find, oh, I still believe a lot of the same things, but I don't believe them in the same way.
Yes,
They mean
yeah.
something so different.
Of course.
Now. So
Yeah.
I don't know. What
I think a lot of people like I say like I think it's much scarier to like not question anything than to like go on this huge journey of questions and not know where you're going to come out on the other side. I think it's scarier to not even consider doing that. Like I want to like for those of you who are all wondering kind of what we're talking about like deconstructing our belief systems and faith and like kind of tearing them down to really pick apart like why do we believe what we believe or like have we just been kind of like programmed to believe certain things?
Yeah. So I don't know if the listeners even know this, but both you and I have sort of a evangelist, I guess you could say, background in Christianity, and we both, are just normal Midwestern Christians. Or have
Bible
been.
belters.
Yeah, the Bible belt,
And it's crazy, like, you've been kind of, like you said, like, on this path of, like, deconstruction and just curiosity and searching for much longer than I have. Like, I'm literally just starting it. Because I've been raised pretty traditionally. My college was, like, very evangelical. And I've always been, like, a very skeptical person. Like, when we go to random churches on tour and stuff, like, I'm, like, just listening to the pastor so intently because I'm, like, challenging every word that comes out of his stinking mouth. Like, I'm like, I am not just going to...
Like that?
I've been like that for a really long time. And I think I'm just kind of internally, like, kind of a hard-headed person. But I'm glad because I don't want to just, like, hear things at face value, accept it, and then live it, Like,
Yeah.
I really want to challenge it and stretch it and weigh it out with, like, scripture and what... I always want to weigh things out with how Jesus lived. The ultimate demonstration of, like, loving people.
Yeah. That's I guess something that has kind of kept me from talking about it is that idea, like you mentioned earlier, of that, like, it's a slippery slope, know? And the thing is, it is a slippery slope. Like, there's no denying that.
Yeah.
But when you get down to the bottom of it, God's still there.
Yeah.
And then there was this one day where the drummer in Prize State couldn't do it. So they're like, can you play drums for us on this show? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then my band hopped on the show.
So you play drums for both?
So I played drums for both. And we just did it
That's
back
cool.
to back. And it was rad. And that was when I realized how much I like playing drums, like, in front of people. So I'm like, I just played a show. I just played a set. I'm going to go outside and then come back and play another set. I'm like, I kind of like doing this.
Yeah.
And that was when I really wanted to, like, I think I really want to, like, be in a band. We did the video, went back to Jordan's house. Jordan asked me to come outside with him to talk. And so it was kind of weird because I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, well, I'll be back in a
Was
second.
there, like, a bunch of people there?
It was just the three of us. We were staying at Jordan's.
Oh.
And so we went outside, we were chatting, and I was like, well, I'll be right back, I guess. So I went outside, and Jordan was just like, we want to ask you to be in Sweet Ascent. And I was just like, in my head, I was like, yes!
Nice.
But like, I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. And he's like, but we want you to play drums. And in my head, again, I was just like, yes!
Yeah,
finally!
That's awesome.
And he's just like, so we want to offer it to you, but we don't want you to, like, answer right now. Because, like, he's like, because I know you're in another band and you live 8 hours away and, you're committed to a lot of things up there, but we do want you to do this. Like, we would like to offer you it. And I'm like, all right, well, let me go home and, like, think about it and talk it over. And it was on the drive home that I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. Like, I want to play drums again. And so I got home, and we had like 7 shows with Archers, and so I went to practice because I'd been gone for a month.
Yeah.
Went to practice, and I told them, like, hey guys, here's the deal. Like, I love you guys and everything, but I don't think I want to be in this band anymore. And some of them were very understanding, like, oh, Jake is a drummer, he wants to go play drums in a band because he's good at it. And then some of them were just like, oh, all right, well, fuck you then.
Yeah.
And you know, it's what it is. There's always good and bad. It's all what you take from it.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept going for a little while, and they slowly just disbanded. And I have no idea what any of them. I don't really talk to any of them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But then things turned around, and I kind of went home and I talked to my parents about it and everything, that I'm going to play drums in a rock band 8 hours away. And it was that moment my mom knew, oh, he's moving. He's leaving. Maybe not now, but he's leaving.
But this is just an actual statistic that Chantix makes you 18 times more likely to commit a violent crime just by trying to quit smoking. Which, you know, people trying to quit smoking are already like about to strangle somebody.
On fucking edge.
And then you put them on a pill that is literally making them more irritable while they're trying to quit smoking. Like, that's just crazy. So yes, and that's not really related to mental health, but that's just related to this idea that yes, we diagnose people with opiates, amphetamines, SSRI, is that how you say that? Yeah, SSRIs, and all of these things that go in, they're active compounds that go in, and they mess with our neurons, and they change our brain chemistry. Yeah. And we know very little about brain chemistry. In fact, within the past 10 years or so, we've actually figured out that your gut makes more serotonin than your brain. That you actually have a very, very strong connection from your brain to your body. And this is something that I think that could literally save more lives than regulating weapons or anything like that, is just educating people on the link between physical health and mental health. And the fact that those are related.
So detached from in this day and age.
Yeah.
Because we think, you know, we can satisfy everything we need with, you know, the luxuries of first world society. Mm-hmm. Like, we're physically, you know, we're doing okay. We're getting by. But mentally, like, the impacts of that in itself, like, we have no way of gauging that realistically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something that I feel really passionate about, just because I've been, you know, like, not drastically, you know, I've never been, like, largely overweight or anything like that, but I have been changing my diet a lot lately, and, you know, just making personal changes in my life, and diet is one of them that I've actually significantly noticed mentally, not just physically. Like, yeah, I do feel a little bit better from eating better, but I actually do feel like my overall state of mind has changed. People have been through stuff, you know, like, we've all gone through our fair share of trauma. We all feel sadness, we all feel anxiety, we all feel those things, and I would just argue that a lot of the time, in today's age, the first solution is to just throw pills at it.
Yeah.
Instead of really trying to figure out what the root is. Just kind of like what we're talking about right now. It kind of comes full circle a little bit to, like, let's find the quick fix. You know, let's find what's gonna make me feel good right now, but not really fix the problem. Mm-hmm. Because guns are not the problem. Depression is not even the problem. It's something deeper than that. Anxiety is not the problem. It's deeper than that. It's always deeper than the first thing that makes itself apparent as the problem. But it's so easy for us to get caught up on that first thing that we paint as the enemy, and then we can't see past it. And absolutely. I think that it's handicapping us from healing our society right now.
So yeah, we knew each other kind of without ever meeting, I guess, like, without realizing we knew who each other were. And then when he moved back, I saw that he was working with some producers that I, you know, respect him, and I'm familiar with them. So I was like, oh, this guy must be legit if he's, like, working with them. And then we just talked at some local shows, and I checked out Lake and Heath, the EP, once he released it, and we just kind of went from there. And now we're here, driving around in a Pontiac vibe. Yeah.
That's cool, dude.
Yeah.
I like that.
Eating carrots.
Man, that's just a testament to how, like, tight-knit the music community is, though, because it just seems like that's how, like, whenever I talk to other musicians and say, like, how'd you meet this person, or it's always, like, mutual friends, you're working with the same people, like, you all have the same guy make your music videos, or what, like, whatever it is. It's just, like, it's cool how tight-knit everybody is. Like, we're hanging out, you guys are from Iowa. Yeah. And, like, I've known about you guys both for, like, probably over a year, which is just pretty cool because of that tight-knit scene. So
yeah, and that's super awesome, because I feel like with the music industry and how everything goes, like, there's so many people that do things like maybe they shoot videos or they produce albums and they don't do it super well, that like when you find the people that do, you know, like the Zachs of the world, like the people like that, it's a very common thing, you know, for the same people to use them. So it's I'm surprised that if you're all finding, you know, these talented, good people that are putting out great content and you're using them and their mutual contacts, that your paths are going to cross eventually. I think that's like a really beautiful thing, because I really do think that as far as like advancing in the music business, as far as that goes, it seems to really just come down to like, besides talent, obviously, who you know, like who your friends are.
Yeah, definitely.
Which sounds cheesy, but like that really seems to be what it is. You know,
Yeah.
If you've got a lot of friends, you know a lot of people, you're going to get a lot further than if you're just kind of isolated. And you could be amazing, but if you don't know people, you're probably not going to make it super far.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Gavin's straight edge except for Four Loko.
Except for Four Loko. That's
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, I tried to not drink for a while, and I think Four Loko was what did me in again.
It's hard, man, when you're on tour. That's like the normal thing, too.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Lily.
Oh, yeah. So we were in Chicago, and we played at Lily's, which is a fantastic little bar. And she was walking around. She was like, "Are you Gabe?" I was like, "No, I'm Gavin." She's like, "Who's Gabe? Is that Gabe?"
I should have stayed at the merch table. I should have stayed away from the bar.
Eventually, she found Gabe, because Gabe was the one who put the show together. And she was like, "Oh, you want, was it Maker's Mark?" Yeah.
Yeah.
Poured like, quote unquote, a shot of Maker's Mark, which was really just like half a cup of Maker's Mark.
It was an interesting experience.
Sounds like a fun night.
She was like, the door kept opening on its own, like to the bar, and then she'd be like, "Come in," when it would open, just like to no one. And it was a good night. I like that place. Lily's is cool.
There's like this big shift for me of like, it wasn't just a safe haven for me of like, oh, I need to like just escape into my art. It became like a tool for me to like help explain myself, or to explain differences in people. Or it became a way for me to like, it became a craft for me to hone. It wasn't just like, oh, this is just my expression. It was like, no, there's like, yeah, I find safety in this and I'm good at it, but I need to practice it. I need to get better. And I can't just do it because it makes me feel good. It became kind of this like, I need to get better at everything, at all the artistic things. But a lot of people I know, they try to frame everything. And I think for me, for a long time, I tried to frame everything from, okay, what is the objective? What is the top down, where you think of top down? I got to figure out what's right. And that's what I'm always going for. And I think if you think like that, what you're going to do is you're going to build a box of, this is the right stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of that might be good. And it might actually be very good for you. But if you try to apply that same box to the person next to you who lives a different life, you're going to get gaps. There's going to be pieces that are missing that don't fit, because you don't have, as much as you are reaching for ultimate truth, you don't have an ultimate perspective.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And dude, I totally empathize with that so much, just 'cause just because I feel like I actually went through that. Like personally, at least in my faith or my walk or my art, even with everything to me is that, like what you're talking about, this box where I think that's what the ego is.
Yeah.
Is that scaffolding that you build for yourself, you know? And so you're saying that it may not be helpful, or maybe it is just to a certain extent, to think of objective truth. Like, for me, when I was 12, I discovered faith or God, or this idea at least. And then up until the point that I was maybe like 19, 20, 21, maybe even, I had that box that I built for myself.
Yeah.
You know, of like, this is what's right and wrong. This is who I am. This is everything that I know. And then, but for some reason, and I think this is just a recurring thing, and I don't even know if it happens more than once. I think that it could be partially like how you explain a midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Is you look at this, and not that I'm even close to midlife, but maybe an early life crisis is what I was going through. But I got to this point in life where I looked at that box and I didn't recognize it.
Yeah.
And I was like, a lot of that stuff, like, who am I? Who is this? What is all this? Why do I believe that? Why did I hold on to that? Better, and then it takes it a step further, and then you say, where's my faith?
Yeah.
Because if I need that scaffolding, if I need to cling to these ideas as facts, like I used to be that kid who like watched every Kent Hovind video ever, and I could explain how the Bible was factually correct in every circumstance. And, you know, I was that guy like that would just, I clinged. I don't know how you say that. I clinged to faith or clinged to that idea. And it took me a long time to figure out that clinging was actually a lack of faith. Yeah. And that really, like, in letting go of those ideas, I could see the real artistic side of it. Yeah. Because I didn't see it as art. I saw it as facts. Yeah. And I put spirituality and art and God, all of these things in a box in my mind where this is how it needs to be. Yeah. And then once that changed, it just kind of like got rid of my whole foundation. Yeah. But then it allowed the real beauty, I think, of in the more artistic side of spirituality to kind of make its way back into my life. Yeah. Like, hey, this is not the same thing. This is not the same thing you believed your whole life. Yeah. But essentially it is the same. Yeah. It just means something completely different than it used to.
It becomes richer in it once you start to learn. Yeah. I really resonate with that sense of I like how you said, you know, like you kind of let go of this thing you think is faith and you realize it's actually impeding your faith because you don't have faith in God, you have faith in the idea of God.
The blood they carry is moving faster. You're so angry without much reason. You look like you could use a highway drive. You look like you could use a highway drive. There's more than you and I and these Midwest nights. Sitting alone again and talking about our failures. Phones are strange, words a stranger. Phones are strange, words are stranger. We burn our bridges with help of towers. We're so enslaved to godlike signals. You look like you could use some Klonopin. You look like you could use some Klonopin. There are things you said that you can't take back again. And making our friendship work is admitting that we're both failures. So I tried to save you for a rainy day, but I couldn't keep you dry now. In my pocket, you weren't safe from all this rain or irony. I tried to save you for a rainy day, but I couldn't keep you dry now. In my pocket, you weren't safe from all this rain or irony. I tried to save you for a rainy day, but I couldn't keep you dry here in my pocket. You weren't safe from all this rain or irony. I tried to save you for a rainy day. save you for a rainy day, but I couldn't keep you dry here in my pocket. You weren't safe from all this rain that fell on